This is the Too Tall Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Lauren. Thank you for joining us today. Our episode is with Xavier Scruggs, big old X. He is a former Major League player, used to play with the Cardinals and Marlins. He had played in Korea professionally. He is now an analyst on ESPN. We talked about that today. What a meteoric rise from just playing over there overseas, and now he's on TV calling games, in the early hours of the morning. So great to track down Xavier Scruggs. He and I played against each other in the minors, so had a lot of fun talking about his rise in the Cardinals organization. You can always find the show at Too Tall Sports Podcast on social media. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and of course, Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe, rate, and review. Please do that. You can find those 5 stars. Trying to be on that new and noteworthy. So help your boy out with some 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts. And yes, if you want to watch the show, it's on YouTube. Type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. Please follow me on social media to check out all the show updates and links and funny clips that I pull from episodes. I think you guys will enjoy those. But other than that, enjoy the episode with Xavier Scruggs, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Podcast. My next guest is a former Major League Baseball player. He played for the St. Louis Cardinals and Miami Marlins. He played his college ball at UNLV and was drafted in the 19th round by St. Louis. He also played professionally in Korea for the NC Dinos and also in Mexico as well. And he recently just signed with ESPN to be a baseball analyst. And I used to play him in the minor leagues. His name is Xavier Scruggs. What's going on, Ek?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me on here. This is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Great to track you down. I know you're a busy man. You got lots of stuff going on, but and we'll get to your current stuff now. But just before we get to your career, what's 2020 been like for you just in the last 6 months?
Dude, 2020 has been crazy, man. One of the things that has really hit me hard is that a lot of people don't even know about is I suffered a Achilles rupture during this whole the COVID-19 thing too. So I've been trying to navigate that whole situation. The worst thing is I got 2 kids. I can't even run around with the kids, try to do rehab every morning and all this stuff. So it's been crazy just along with the pandemic and all. But, all in all, I'm super blessed, got health in my family, so I can't complain whatsoever.
Oh, that's crazy. Dude, I hurt my Achilles playing basketball, man. Getting old sucks.
I feel like that's exactly, we're getting old, man.
Yeah, I know, right? And you got to play for a long time, even while still getting old, which is good. So on that. I wanted to start from the beginning for you with your baseball career. Just I saw that you grew up in North San Diego area, and I'm a SoCal guy, also Orange County. But what was it like for you playing sports when you were younger, and were you always a baseball guy, or did you play other sports too?
Yeah, man, sports was huge in my family. It was I kind of talked about this in a blog that I did. Like ESPN was on 24/7, like just watching highlights all day on TV. And I played baseball, basketball, football all the way up until junior year of high school, and then had to narrow it down because the basketball guy is getting way too tall, speaking of Too Tall podcast, and the football guy is getting way too strong. So I was like, you know what, let me just stick with baseball. It seems like I might have an opportunity for a college education or something, which was always really important to me and my parents. Both of them went to 4-year universities, Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. So somewhere that was always something that was always like deep in my heart that I wanted to do is experience that college lifestyle education. So baseball, basketball, football, always loved playing all 3. I was always a kid that loved being outside, in the cul-de-sac. We had a big cul-de-sac growing up, always playing different sports with the neighbors and stuff like that. So sports was ingrained in me early, man.
Yeah. And I was because I saw you went to high school, I think in Poway, right? So
yeah, Poway.
Okay. When did you really commit to baseball, to the point where that's your year-round sport and you got maybe a chance to play college ball?
Yeah, it was definitely my junior year. I was kind of all right, no more basketball, no more. I played football my junior year, but it wasn't the same focus as baseball. It was more I need to really hone in on everything as far as hitting instructor, travel ball, making sure, like you said, playing year round. Just because some of the playing other sports takes away time from that. So I had to try to just commit to baseball, and I started getting some recognition from the schools. And, that's a huge sign to say, okay, maybe this is something I should focus on. And, got the opportunity to commit to UNLV Las Vegas. And then even my senior year, I got drafted. So then it was like, okay, like I might have a future with like a career in this possibly, at least professionally. So that's when I was like, okay, when I started getting the recognitions from like the scout teams and like some of the professional teams, that's when I was like, we got to lock it in and really get ready to make this a real possibility down the line.
Yeah, I saw you got drafted in high school. Obviously, it was a little later in the draft, but I mean,
yeah,
at
it
least
was the last round.
Okay. And yeah, obviously, probably no thought of signing, but at least it's kind of cool to get drafted in high school. It means, yeah, like you were saying, people are noticing you, and maybe you do have a future in this. Did you have any other thought besides UNLV as far as going to school, like any other option?
Yeah, well, I was really like, I wanted to play for Tony Gwynn at San Diego State.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like their scouting or their recruiting guy, like he wasn't loving me. So I was like, all right, whatever. Maybe I can go to a school and beat up on San Diego State while
There
I'm
you
at
go.
it. So
yeah,
that was kind of my thought process behind that. But definitely looked at some other schools. But UNLV was so like conducive to a hitter's park as far as for a power guy like me. Wind blowing out all the time. So
yeah.
I knew it was going to be a good opportunity also for me to play like right away when I got there. And that was really important as well.
Okay. And then as far as your, being on campus there or just being in Vegas in general, I did see an interview of you that you've done previously with somebody else, and you talked about how you kind of matured in college, and what were those 3 years like for you at UNLV?
Yeah, yeah. The Vegas was wild, man. It's like
Yeah.
everything you would think it would be. So, and me being a young guy who was always like very grounded at home, it was kind of a way for me to get away and escape. Got into some trouble that I shouldn't have been getting into, but there was a point in my career at Vegas when I was a junior when I got in some trouble, and it was basically like a crossroads. It's like, hey, it's either you make some bad decisions and you maybe get baseball taken away from you, or it's like, hey, you hone in on what you said that you're going to do. You told yourself you're going to give yourself a chance to, after 3 years get drafted again and make this thing a professional thing. So it's like, are you really focused on doing that, or are you going to do some other things that are going to lead you down the wrong path? So I had to look myself in the mirror and really get focused and really put the time and dedication in, because I had mentors, I had family members, I had people that kind of told me along the way, this is what it looks like, but you don't really know until you experience it, So, so for me to even think about baseball maybe being taken away just changed my whole thought process, and was like, this can't happen. I need to be focused on what I need to do. I dedicated all my time to being in the cage, just studying the game, like trying to be around my coaches as much as possible. So that way I couldn't get involved in things like outside of the field anymore, that I shouldn't be involved in. So definitely a turning point happened when I became a junior, realized that, and I think it happened mostly because I was a junior and I was like, you know what, there's a possibility I get drafted. Let me try to just experience all the things Vegas has to offer while I'm here before I'm gone. And then I realized like that wasn't for me. Like that life is not for me. And especially just like I mentioned, like that can take away baseball. So eye-opening experience to bring me back into where I needed to focus and where I needed to be. And, I'm always forever thankful for my time in Vegas, because it, like you said, it matured me. It made me think about, right from wrong, decision-making processes. It made me grow up.
Yeah, and I mean that town's really not meant for people that are under 21 anyway. So you were, I mean, even young, if you're getting into stuff, whatever. And I can't imagine it's hard. I'm sure a lot of students go through that. Sure, a lot of students lose their ass in the casinos. Like it happens. So I can
Yeah, it
imagine.
happened to my teammates all the time.
Right.
Like I had many teammates that, coming home from wherever we were playing late, 1, 2 a.m., go straight to the casino.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, some of those guys weren't on the team anymore. Like college tuition, scholarship money gone. Guys flunking out of college. Like, so I didn't want that to be me.
Yeah.
And I remember a specific point when I was a sophomore. I think I had like a D in one of my classes, and I came home from winter break, and my dad was like, "Yo, what is this? Why do you have a D?" And I was like, it's just a D, like GPA is good, whatever. And he's like, no, he's like, if you don't start getting A's and B's, I'll take you off the baseball team myself. And so that was like another point in my life where I was like, dude, like I have to remember I am like underage. Like this is like my dad, he could do whatever he wanted with me. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that made me like focus on, focus on school and baseball. It's not just baseball, it's school as well.
For sure. And you committed yourself, and you got drafted again, this time by St. Louis. So what was that whole draft process like for you once you finally saw your name called? What was the whole day like, that whole situation?
Yeah, it was amazing. And I know you can relate. It's just
Yeah.
like, man, all the hard work that you put into it, it just came into fruition, man. It's like you think back and look at all those times that you were taking ground balls, maybe with a coach or your dad, or fly balls, and you're like, man, I'm so tired right now. I don't want to do it. Like you start crying, whatever it was, all those moments like come at you at one time, and it was like, man, that was worth it. Like I'm a professional now. I'm gonna get paid to do this thing. Like who gets paid to just play a kid's game?
Yeah.
Such a small percentage of people. So, I never took it for granted. I was always very thankful. The moment that the Cardinals called me, I was at the gym on the elliptical because was pissed off because I hadn't gotten picked a few rounds earlier. So I was like, I need to burn some calories. I need to burn
Yeah.
this fuel. I need to, get these emotions out of me. So, but finally, once they called me, it was like, man, like a weight lifted off the shoulders, just excited to go to work,
Yeah, 100%. No, it's a great feeling. And we were in the same draft, 2008. And I went to
Right.
college with Shane Peterson, who you played with the Cardinals, of course.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk just some other SoCal guys in general, like Joe Kelly. Obviously, he's pitching for the Dodgers, but he's a UC Riverside guy. Another great Cardinals draft
Right.
pick. Jermaine Curtis, UCLA. I remember playing against him. Like all these guys. What do you remember about a lot of the SoCal guys that got drafted with you in that
Yeah.
Cardinals system?
The guys that you mentioned, Shane Peterson was somebody that like we were always very close because we actually played against each other like when we were like 10, 11, 12 years old, always competing against each other, travel ball. And then me and Jermaine, we played on the same travel ball team and then got drafted together, and we're always roommates every year till the big leagues.
Oh, wow.
So we always were able to have those conversations of like, hey, let's keep motivating each other, keep building each other up. Like when we were down, struggling, like we were always like bouncing ideas off each other, bouncing the slumps, just, okay, we can grind through this, So it was, those are some guys that I'll never forget going through it. And we won a championship our first year in the Penn League, Shane Peterson and
Yeah.
Jermaine Curtis with me. You talk about Joe Kelly, a guy that I played with a lot too. Always had that. You never knew like how far he was going to go. He always had that arm, but he just didn't have the control at the time. But I mean, just the names, SoCal, we come with it. We come with some guys. So, and we always like mesh really well together,
Yeah, totally. No, and just in general, the Cardinals always drafted so well. Like they're like the Spurs almost in basketball. Like they're just always there. They're always consistent.
Yeah.
Like they just bring good talent in from what I
Just
saw.
quietly have guys from the 50th round come up and just make noise. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know. So when you and I first crossed paths in 2011, we were both in high A. At that point, I was in Bradenton, Florida. You were in Palm Beach. Where did you think, as far as your career was at that point?
Man, I didn't know. Like I had no idea because I think I was so focused on like, man, I have to get so much better because I was playing first base, so I was looking at Albert Pujols and being like, man, like there's no way, like I'm gonna how. So
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get so much better. So I didn't even really like compare myself to AA, AAA guys lower than me. I was just always like, dude, I have to get so much better. I got to figure out every day how I'm gonna get better. So I didn't really like. I had almost like a tunnel vision, but I just knew that the baseball like lifestyle, as far as like living on the road and like traveling all the time, getting to see different cities, like that stuff was fun to me too. And like the best part I liked was like building relationships with other dudes. Like just you got 25 dudes and you spend more time with them than you do your family. So it's like opportunity to learn from, and too, like that was our first opportunity to learn from guys in like Dominican, like talk to guys from Cuba, Puerto Rico. So you're getting a whole mix of guys for the first time in your life and experiencing something totally different. So I was loving that.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as, since we're on the topic, the Florida State League in general, I mean, the travel was decent because it was all bus trips, but it's at least in the same state. But the hot summers, the humidity, it's
man.
what do you remember about the Florida State League?
I specifically remember the hot, the humidity. I'm in Tampa right now, and it was like sunny a couple minutes ago, and it just started like pouring rain. So like the summer, I just remember it getting so humid and so hot that like guys would just start fighting each other just because of the heat. Like I remember guys would just get so overheated. I'm like, man, it must be the summer. So that's one thing I specifically remember is like, man, it would get so hot and then it would rain and then it would get even hotter. And I was like, and that was the first time I really spent time in Florida. So I was like, I can't do this. Being a Southern California dude, I'm like, I can't be doing this, man. I'm sweating just stepping outside. I got to change 3 T-shirts. This doesn't make any sense.
And they're like, you're not sure if you're going to play that day or have a doubleheader the next day, or they're going to just cancel BP and then wait and delay the game all night. It's just, it was a lot. And yeah, like you're talking about, it got so hot. Like when you get to August in the Florida State League, everybody's sick of each other. No, like the guys haven't been moved up yet. Like it's a little salty at the end of the year.
So salty, man. It's so salty. I remember I went to Florida State League in 2011, and then I played well in 2011, 2012. I'm like, okay, I'm going to AA. So I go to AA, and the first thing they tell me before opening day is like, hey, you're going to be on the Phantom DL here in AA. We'll see how I think it was Matt Adams. We'll see how Matt Adams does, and if he doesn't do it, then we'll activate you. If not, we might have to send you back to West Palm.
Wow.
And I was like, no, not that heat. And I ended up getting sent back for another round. And, that's all I could think about was the heat. I was like, man, I can't do the heat.
Yeah.
But do it again.
It's crazy you're living in Florida now after all of that, even though you're a SoCal guy.
I don't know. My wife is actually from West Palm. We met that year.
Oh, okay.
I was in single A there. So we met. Her family's from out there. My family now moved to Jacksonville area. So everybody's close,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And I saw, at least in AA, once you got to really establish yourself there, and AAA, you started to put up some big numbers. When you were at those levels, did you feel like, all right, now I'm getting closer, like I might have a spot here in the future in the big leagues?
Yeah, I still didn't know in AA because I knew I had the power, but I was just never like my average. I always looked at the average, but I didn't realize like analytically, if you walk and hit for power, hit doubles, you can give yourself a great chance, especially with on-base percentage, all that stuff, runs created. And I didn't realize I was doing that. So I still felt kind of down on myself. I was like, I need to get this average up. Like I need to do something, but I just need to be a better hitter. So like my focus was always like, I need to hit more line drives, stop striking out. But then once after AA 1 year, 2013, I got invite to spring training, big league camp in 2014. And that's when I was like, oh, maybe they do like me. Like, cause I never felt like the organization liked me until then. I was like, oh, maybe give me an opportunity to shine. So I never felt that way.
Yeah. Especially like being drafted in 08, you get to 2013, 2014, you've been in the system for a while, so you really you see other guys passing you up or, at different positions. It's hard to deal with that mentally when you're just still not getting the call.
Exactly. And that's what it was. It was like mentally, it was a beat down a lot of times, but I knew that if I like got my swing to where it's like played better every day more consistently, then I knew I would have a chance because I had the juice. I just had to put it to play, you know?
Well, you finally got the call in 2014. What do you remember about getting called to the big leagues and playing in St. Louis?
Oh man, it was the first thing I remember. I was like so tired because I didn't get any sleep because I was like so juiced. I was like tossing and turning. I'm like, what's the first day gonna be like? Like when I walk into the Milwaukee Brewers Stadium, because that's where I had my first game. So I was like, I couldn't sleep whatsoever, and then I had to catch an early flight. And I got and I remember getting to the hotel in Milwaukee. and trying to take a nap. Couldn't even really take a nap. Got to because I was trying to think about, okay, what I need to make sure I'm at the field like early enough. Like, so I'm thinking about when I got to get to the field. And so I'm not napping, and then I get to the field. Nobody's at the field, so I'm early as hell. All I see is Mike Matheny in there, and he's like, "Hey, X, happy to have you. Just let you know you're in there today." I was like, "Oh, I'm in the lineup. Let's go." So then I got like a little juice of wind, but like throughout the whole day, I was like so tired until I hit that point, and I was like, "Yes, this is what I'm here for. Like, let's do it." So it was, the most exciting moment, just being able to call my parents and say, hey, going to the big leagues, like, this is what we've worked so hard for. This is all the sacrifice. Like, telling my wife. My brother was at my first game because he lived in Chicago, so he wasn't far from Milwaukee. So it was just like things kind of came together, and it was really nice.
Oh, that's awesome. And as far as now that you're up there, playing in St. Louis, they've had great fans for forever. Everybody knows that. But what was it like for you being in St. Louis, Busch Stadium, the whole experience there?
Yeah, that was probably the best part, is like seeing a real baseball town, what it looks like with the sea of red and the whole stadium. Baseball fans that understand like the little nuances of the game. So they're not going to boo anybody. They're really appreciative of how everybody plays the game there. So just a city that was so cool to just experience because they appreciated the game in a different sense than I had ever seen. I got a little taste of it when I was in Springfield because, a big following of the Cardinals lived there. But once you get to Busch, it's like no other, man. It was really nice to see.
And as far as some of the guys you played with, I mean, you had some really legitimate, like veteran, possible, Hall of Famers on your team. What do you remember about the teammates you had in the big leagues?
Yeah, just leaders that, you look up to them and like, man, they go about it the right way. Like you're looking at them like a Matt Holliday, you're looking at a Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright, like Carlos Beltran was there at the time. Like some of these guys you're looking at and you're like, man, these, like you said, Hall of Fame type names, MVP type players. Like, how could you not soak in the information and not try to learn as much as possible from these guys? Like, literally, I would just stare at these dudes and just be like, okay, I need to walk like that. I need to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was trying to get every little detail just to be able to make sure I was going about it the right way, because I knew these were the top guys.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you were with the Cardinals for a long time, and then the business of baseball, it happens to everybody, and they end up letting you walk in the offseason, and you signed with Miami Marlins. What do you remember about that transition? Not everybody handles it great, being either traded or let go or whatever. How did you handle leaving the Cardinals when you had been with them for so long?
Yeah, it was weird. Like I knew the Cardinals had given me an opportunity to play in the big leagues. I had been there, like you said, for so long. That was the only organization I knew. But I was happy to get like a fresh start with a new organization. One of the big reasons too, because they had Barry Bonds coming in there, Don Mattingly coming in there, some new faces. So it was an opportunity for me to show what I had to a new organization. So I was excited about that. Like I said, my wife's family from South Florida, so that was another plus. And I had actually, when I got let go by the Cardinals, I was playing in the Dominican, and I wasn't playing too well over there. So I was like frustrated with that. And then I got a call saying, hey, they want to sign you. So then it kind of like lifted the spirits again. And it was like, okay, somebody wants me, like, let's get after it again. Let's make sure we do it right this time. And so that was an amazing feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in 2016, you hit your first big league home run in Miami. Is that right? Or for the Marlins?
Yeah, that was my first big league home run, man.
Yeah.
I was juiced. Like the best part that I remember about that is, it was off Chad Cool. It was in Pittsburgh. Got a ball. I knew it was out immediately. But the thing is, like, you're rounding the bases and you like don't even feel it. You're just in the clouds. Like I just hit a big league home run. Come around third base, dap up the all-time pinch hit leader, Lenny Harris.
Oh wow!
And you come home. Ichiro's on base, so like Ichiro 2-hand high five. Come in the dugout. Don Mattingly, Barry Bonds gives me a big hug. Like surreal moments, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So it's something that I'll never forget, just because how unreal the moment felt. Like I had hit so many home runs, but you're talking about one home run that never felt real.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, that's
crazy.
awesome. Speaking of Barry Bonds, did he work with you a lot? Like, what was it like being around him?
Dude, it was like you just understood, like, once you worked with him like one or two times, like, he totally thought about the game totally different than everybody else. Like, it wasn't even like a normal pitcher was throwing to him. It was like, he was so focused on just, and he says this all the time, just like catching the baseball. And to think of the mindset that he had, it was like he was never trying to hit. He was just trying to catch baseballs on the barrel. Like, so he talked about things that just you don't think about the same way. And he was talking about like little drills that he used to do that makes no sense to like someone looking at it. I'm like, how's this guy like trying to hit balls into the ground? And he's like the best power hitter ever. So I'm like, these drills, like, they don't even make sense. But then I started understanding, like, okay, these are the reasons why he does this stuff. These are the reasons why he's teaching Yelich to do something like this, or Giancarlo Stanton to do something like this. Like, it wasn't because they were a certain type of hitter, but it was like trying to get the mind to think a different way. And that was like the biggest difference I saw, is like his mind thought totally different than everybody else.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, he knew the strike zone so well. Like, he walked a ton just because he just had a great eye for seeing the ball come in like that. And you got to play with another guy too. I know you saw him at the end, but Ichiro, like, I saw him when I was in Seattle. I saw him just take BP and stuff. Just ridiculous talent. What do you remember about Ichiro, even though he was kind of at the end of his career?
Yeah, the thing about Ichiro is, like, he was so focused all the time. Like, he was locked in. He would be pinch hitting maybe in the eighth or ninth inning, but from the first inning, he was locked in. So it kind of just reminded me, like, the longevity of his career probably played the biggest part that played into that was like the details, just making sure he was locked in on every detail, trying to figure out what every pitcher was doing, how he took shagged outfield. Like, it was always like it was the game situation. So it was, you could tell there was nothing about the game that he took for granted. And no matter how his body was feeling, he was probably, what was he, 41, 42 about when I was there, like, or when he retired. It was like, you would never know it because he never complained. He just always went about his work. So it was something that was really cool for me to see.
Yeah, 100%. You decided to go play professionally in Korea for the NC Dinos. I saw that there was, like, you were thinking about doing it, maybe not even doing it at all. How did the whole process go from you not being in Major League Baseball anymore, and now you're going to play professionally in Korea? And was it ever a thought for you to go play over there?
Man, I was like, my agent told me about Korea. I was like, man, I'm a big leaguer. I'm not going over to Korea and playing over there. I need to be in the big leagues.
Right.
I don't know anything about Korea. So here I am telling my agent I'm not going to Korea. I don't know anything about it. And also, he told me I had 48 hours to make a decision. So he told me the team gave me 48 hours. I was like, there's no way I'm going to tell my wife we're moving to Korea within a 48-hour span for a decision. So I immediately was like, hey, I can't do it. Like, I can't even pray about something for 48 hours, like, and let alone let it be moving across the whole world. So for me, it was a no, immediate no. And then I started thinking about, okay, I saw the names. Eric Thames had went over there, balled out, came back, just got a contract. I think around the same time I turned down the Dinos deal. And then I started researching a little bit, and I'm like, okay, let me see what Korea is a little bit about. I talked to Eric Thames, talked to some other guys, said it might be a good opportunity, definitely financially, but also like culturally, dipping into another culture, learning more about their way of life, because travel was something I was always excited about. So after I told my wife, I said, hey, like, a couple of weeks went by. I'm like, I'm thinking about doing it. If I can call back my agent, see if they're still down, I'm thinking about doing it. She about slapped me in the face, dude. She was like, I'm not doing it. She had just gotten a really good job. And she was like, I can't tell them I'm not going to do it now. And I was like, Jess, if I'm going to go to Korea, like, you got to come with me. And I saw her start looking up houses on Zillow with the money that I was going to make, or we were going to make. And I was like, oh, she's thinking about doing it now. And, so eventually we talked about it more and more, and we just took a leap of faith. And luckily the team was still willing to take me. And, it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, just experiencing that culture over there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And once you got over there, I know they do things a little bit differently, like the practice schedule, just stuff, all of it in baseball wise. So what was it like adjusting to the way they play baseball, or just the way they do things over there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was like just the way they took infield like every day, like played super long catch every day, long toss, like every day had to be like 10 minutes. And throwing for 10 minutes is a long time. It doesn't sound like a long time, but it is a
It
long
is,
time,
yeah.
especially when you're doing it every day. So luckily I was kind of able to get on my own program, like make sure I was doing things the same way I would have been doing them here. The team was really cool about that, especially having some good American players come within the organization already. So that helped me out. But the biggest thing was just like the language barrier, like when I first got there, it was like, Spanish is different because if I go to Dominican, Mexico, whatever, Venezuela, Colombia, like I can see the same alphabet, so I can kind of put some words together. Over there, it's all characters, so I
Right.
can't put anything together. So that was really frustrating at first, but luckily I had a translator that could lean on like 24/7. So if I need to order some type of food, he got it taken care of. He was able to help me out. So that was like the translator has to be your best friend over there. That's the big thing. And luckily we were like peanut butter and jelly. Like we were really close. So I was really thankful for that. And then another big thing too was the jet lag hit me really hard. Like I literally had almost 3 weeks of jet lag, and we were playing like practice games at 1:00 p.m. And I remember just falling asleep in the middle of the practice games. I would literally be on the bench like with the sunglasses on because it was sunny. Sunglasses on, I'd be like knocking out half the time. And I was like, I got to get over this thing. And luckily, like a few days before the season started, I actually got over the jet lag, but it hit me really hard for some reason.
That's interesting. It took that long for you to get adjusted over there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never heard anybody had the jet lag hit them that hard. But I think it was because I didn't sleep at all throughout the whole 14-hour flight. So I think that was definitely the thing that messed me up. I think it was like the anxiousness, but also
Yeah.
like I don't like flying in general. So if it had to be 14 hours, I was tripping out a little bit. Like this is a long flight. We're gonna overwater a long time.
I saw a story that about how I think after a game or they don't let you shower at the stadium or anything like that, that you make you go back to your hotel. I think, do you have a story like that?
Yeah, yeah. The actual when you go on the road, you shower back at the hotel. So it's like you get dressed for the game before the game. You in full uniform, walking through the hotel, got your bag with you. And it's funny, their bags are like suitcases. So like you got your
Uh-huh.
suitcase with you. And then after the game, it's good because you can hurry up and get out of the stadium and head to the hotel. That's the good thing is like you get back to your room, you actually have some time to like relax, unwind. But yeah, definitely a weird dynamic on the road.
And I saw that you had one of your kids out there, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What
Had
was
my
that
boy Zeke.
experience? Yeah.
Man, that was nuts. Like, luckily my wife was like happy to do it because otherwise I would have had to come back to the States for it and then come back to Korea, which would have been no problem. But it was just made things so much easier. And they have amazing doctors there. So the process really went very smoothly. It was just kind of like is this something we really want to do? Do we want to make sure we want to do this, right?
Yeah.
So luckily translator came in huge there too. We actually had an English speaking doctor. She was amazing. But just a crazy experience having your son born in Korea. And he would have dual citizenship, but if you're a Korean man, you have to serve in the army after the age of 18. So if he wanted to go back to Korea, he would have had to serve in the army if he was considered, Korean.
Oh,
So we
wow.
had to we had to make sure he just had American citizenship. Otherwise, he would have had dual citizenship.
That's crazy.
Nuts, right?
So this year happens, and of course the pandemic and everything. So you're not that far removed from playing. So how did it end? Are you thinking about going back to Korea? Like, where do you stand? Where do you stand in your baseball career right now?
It hasn't ended yet. It hasn't
Okay,
ended
okay,
yet.
okay.
No, I haven't announced any type of retirement,
Oh,
but
okay.
I think because of the biggest thing, nobody really knows that, but the biggest thing I think is my Achilles went out. So I was still training. I was like ready to go. I think it would happen like May. And I was like training, see if there's opportunity. Cause last year I played in Mexico, like you said,
Yeah.
and just staying ready. And I realized, I'm 33 now. So I realized the transition happens sooner rather than later. So started trying to get my ducks in order, trying to do some things business-wise, trying to make sure I was putting myself out there for opportunities. But this year hit, especially with the pandemic, and it was like everybody's kind of stuck at home. So I'm like, let me make sure I'm doing the things I need to do in case baseball doesn't work out down in the future. You know, I want to be able to have options. That was the biggest thing for me. So I started a company called Extraordinary Athletes that kind of took place in the beginning of this year in February. And then once the pandemic hit, I was like, you know what, let's start taking this a little bit seriously. That's when the podcast kind of came along to opportunity for me to talk to athletes like you, people in the sports industry, just be able to say, hey, success happens in many different ways, not just on the field, you know, it happens off the field as well. So that gave me an opportunity to really dive into that. And I've been loving that.
That's great. No, I definitely want to get to that in a minute. But before we do, I want to talk about when there were no sports, they started bringing Korean baseball back. And so I was watching a few of the games, even though they're on really late. But I was like, and I see you get interviewed because you played there. I was like, hey, I know that guy. I played against him. And that also reminded me. I was like, oh, yeah, I should talk to him about stuff. But then you become an analyst on some of these KBO games. And then I watched one the other night and I saw you were the color analyst. And what has that been like for you to go from you're playing there, now you're calling in because you played there, and now you're an analyst for KBO?
Dude, it's been weird. Like my wife, when we first started seeing people jump on there that played in Korea, she was like, you should do something like this. You should try to get on there. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know how to get on there. I don't know how people are getting on there. And she said, try to reach out to somebody. So I tried to reach out to somebody, got crickets. And then one of my agents who I had in the past, he was like, hey, I want to connect you with the ESPN guy that does KBO producing. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So he was like, yeah, let's get you on for like a 10, 15-minute spot. You could talk about your experiences. Did it. And then I told them like, hey, like, I loved it. Like, if you want to use me again, I can do it again. They were like, we loved you too. Like, you did a great job. So kept kind of doing it for about, I think, say like once a week for about 10 weeks, 12 weeks. And then I told them like, I would like to see if I could have an opportunity to actually like get my foot in the door and see if there's opportunities for me to actually do an analyst or like, you know, color commentating, whatever it may be, or broadcasting. And they were like, all right, well, now we know that you're taking it seriously. Like, let's see what we can find. And he was like, just keep doing, one of the producers was like, just keep doing it. Like, be available whenever we need you and we'll see what happens down the road. And then that I think it was like maybe about a month ago, they were like, hey, we want to give you a shot. Like, let's see what you can do. And I was like, let's do it. Like, finally, like, that's what I've been asking for. Cause I wanted to see if I could do it, you know,
Sure,
see if I like it.
Right.
You know, see if I could actually have a future in it. So now it's been cool kind of seeing that preparation side to it, like that production side, and seeing what goes into it. So it's been a lot of fun for sure.
Because the games are on at, like, for me, 1 a.m. So for you over there on the East Coast, it's like 4 a.m, right? So what is it like broadcasting, getting up super early, doing the prep for some of the guys you never – I mean, you might not even know all the players. You might probably know some of them, but you played against them. But what's the
good
whole –
thing is,
yeah.
Yeah, the good thing is I know most of the players. The bad thing is, like you said, I'm getting up at – like last time I did on last Saturday, it was a 2:55 a.m. start on my side. So that means I'm getting up at like maybe 1 o'clock, or I'm checking in on their Zoom at 1:30. So like I have to have my most energy throughout the day, like at the worst time.
Right.
So I'm like trying to figure out, should I take a nap before I do it? Like, what if I take a nap and I fall asleep through the alarm? Like, so it's like we're trying to figure out like the best way to navigate it. But I've been trying. The best way to do it, I think, is just Cuban coffee like right before the game starts and just get it going. You know, so it's been cool. You know, no matter what time it is, you're gonna have fun with it. So that's been a cool thing.
Yeah, definitely. What is it weird being on TV and like, is it on Zoom? How does it all work?
Yeah, so they do the feed. I can see the game through Zoom feed. and then they FaceTime me on when I need to be on the camera.
I see.
So that's kind of how they do that. And it's cool because I can do it from home. Like, that's the best part. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to be in Bristol. Like, I can just do it here. I don't have to be in Korea.
That's
So
awesome.
it's really cool. And then they got playoffs coming here soon. So that's going to be really fun. And the Dinos, who I played for, are in first place. So it's cool to see.
That is great. Are you hoping to maybe turn this into, like, I don't know, best case scenario, baseball tonight, Analyst, or something like that?
Yeah, that would be dope. That would be an amazing opportunity. Just to be, even if I'm like one of those random talking heads that you see on ESPN, like that just come in every now and then, that would be cool too. MLB Network, like anything to kind of stay within the sports realm, I think would be really cool.
I'm on that same plane, man. That's what I want to do too.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your extraordinary athletes and the whole XO, brand, everything like that. So maybe explain kind of what that's all about and what you're trying to do with that.
Yeah. So I just basically started, I wanted to give back to the community that raised me. And I did that with the camp. I called it a skills challenge, where baseball players, young athletes on the field, same time, doing the same stuff, not just instructional, but like we're taking the ground balls with the young athletes, hitting, taking BP, fly balls, whatever it may be, running the bases all together so they can kind of see what we look like. And then they can get feedback, like physical feedback. We wrote down like some of the things that they need to get better at, some of the things that they're doing already really well. And then I realized how impactful that was within the community. And I said, why don't I just keep building off of that? Why don't I see if I can start a facility out here in Tampa, attach it with the athletic facility, and just kind of teach those intangibles, like how to get to success by, learning leadership, goal setting, how to be focused. Because I think a lot of the times, like, we're as athletes just expected to, hey, you go be a leader or have some self-discipline. Like, but sometimes you have to break it down to what that really looks like, and break it down what it looks like, just not on the field, but off the field. So I think that that's really important. And a lot of people have been able to help contribute via workshops, seminars, motivational speaking, virtually. That was really one of the big things when the pandemic hit, was like, I want to be able to teach and give back virtually. So that was another thing. We're developing an ebook coming here soon. So just trying to give back however way I can, because like I have a lot of mentors that helped me along the way. So I want to be able to help others for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you're doing a podcast you mentioned too. What's the name of that?
Yeah, the podcast is Extraordinary Athletes Podcast, but it's actually going to be rebranded here pretty soon to just, because I do an IG live called On Deck with X.
Okay.
So I'm going to name the podcast On Deck with X. So that way everything's kind of under one umbrella.
Okay. And is it basically just same type of thing, former athletes or anybody in the industry?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody that has some type of focus in the industry, and that's everybody. Everybody has some type of touch with sports. So it's cool to reach out to different avenues and be able to bring people on.
Where can everybody kind of follow your stuff and find you on social media and all that?
Yeah, definitely hit up the website, xoathletes.com, and they can follow me at Xavier_Scruggs, and also extraordinary _athletes as well.
You got a lot of stuff going on,
too.
Man. Yeah.
I'm on Twitter too, because like the media, they want you on Twitter. So you got to be putting out your opinions on Twitter.
Okay.
So I'm on all the platforms, man.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Well, it sounds like you're doing big things. Congrats to you on the new deal with ESPN. And I really appreciate you coming on. We'll have to do it again soon.
Nah, man, thank you for having me. It's been really cool. I'm glad we got to reconnect and kind of get this done, and hopefully get you on the Extraordinary Athletes Podcast. So, On Deck with X here.
I'm ready, dude. I'm on deck right now. Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
Cool.
My thanks to Xavier Scruggs. What a great episode. Please go follow him on all of those links and social media accounts, the XO brand, Extraordinary Athletes. The guy's doing big things now, and you can watch him on TV if you're up really early in the morning on those Korean baseball KBO games. He's the color analyst on ESPN. So please check him out. Again, thanks to Xavier Scruggs. Hopefully I can be on his show very soon as well. And as always, you can follow the show at Too Tall Sports Podcast on social media. You can find me everywhere on Twitter. It's going to be at Too Tall Sports. And then Facebook is Too Tall Sports Podcast. And of course, you can listen to the show, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. If you're on Apple, please subscribe, rate, and review. I need those 5 stars. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next week for another great episode. Have a great day.